I'm assuming you're Chilean.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Okay, so this is collaborative design decisions. This is a case study, so I'm very happy to present this case study because this is the first time that, that I know of that CVAs have implemented systematically with other lean tools and that we actually measure results in the project. Not just theoretical benefits of implementing CVA, but actual reduction in cost and time. And we did this together with David Long. So he could not be here. He's recovering. But I'm going to try to back the team. OK, so this is not moving. Can you move it? Or? OK. So the problems with that we traditionally encounter with regards to decision making is that decision making is made in silos, and that compromises the integrity of the project. There's a lot of miscommunication, changes in design that are made later on, iterations. And lean methods present a very good opportunity to reduce waste and reduce these unproductive iterations. So this paper is, it measures the approach to systematically implement collaborative decision methods inspired by lean practices. And also the other thing that we did is observe the conversations that the team were having and also the moods. The next one. Oh, thank you. So what do I mean by lean methods? If you guys, just an overview. So in target value design, what we want to do is to design to target values. So discover those values, what the client wants, what are we delivering, and also deliver it within the target cost. So in order to do that, we actually have to make many decisions. It's an iteration of decisions, and this was in the design of a project. So what we were using, it's using set-based design, so exploring alternatives, keeping those options open, and identified when is the last responsible moment to make those decisions. And that was in coordination with the last planner system. So it will help us, I mean, the last planner system will inform us when we need to make those decisions and who needs to be involved. And then we use CVA, choosing by advantages, to help the team have conversations to understand the rationale for the decisions. And we will use A3s to document the problem solving. Okay. So, and what do you mean? So we also help them to coach decisions as conversations. So what decisions are things that are going to happen in the future. So, so it requires to create a common vision, a shared understanding of what's going on and why we want a certain design. We were looking for moods. We know from the morning that moods influence our conversations, the possibilities we see, and it also they are contagious. Also, we look for, we ask for leaders in this case, we were helping the team and the project manager, and we were also coaching the leader to help the team come with new opportunities. And okay, I'm going to explain these other 2 points later on, so I'm not going to go in detail. So the questions here were, what is the impact of implementing A3 with CVA systematically in the project? we were looking more at A3s. We could measure the impact of doing A3s with CVA, but within the framework that I just showed you. And what are the what observations can be made when coaching the decisions as teams, as conversations for action? So this is the project. So this is a large and complex project in Silicon Valley. It was a large and multidisciplinary teams. There were two architect firms. It was iconic, and it also had to deal with the San Francisco Bay Area jurisdiction, which is challenging. The owner was engaged and also very demanding. They had an early onboarding of the general contractor and the architects, and there was aggressive schedule and budget targets, as usually is the case. So before we intervened this project, before we started to implement Lean, this was the situation. So there were, they were trying different things. I mean, they were trying so many innovative things in these projects that they couldn't keep up with the design. It was so convoluted. Numerous system studies. They were making a study for this and that, and no focus on anything, no decisions being made. Reinventing the design process over and over. The decisions were not anchored to the project schedule. They had competing design priorities. They didn't know which decision was first. Poor documentation. Lack of accountability. Somebody will say something and there was no way to know, to follow up. Ambiguous. They tried to use a methodology for decision making, and it used an ambiguous scoring method, and there was lack of commitment to a decision. And this is very, very important. I mean, they were scared of making decisions because it was so complex. I mean, nobody wanted to be responsible for making a decision. That's the truth. And at the end, a decision is a commitment, right? The decision process was resulted in hasty decisions without all the facts. So they were trying to push, okay, we need to make a decision. Oh, but we don't know like how, I mean, certain things how are going to work, but doesn't matter, we have to make a decision. And then there was misalignment between team members, no structure, decisions were overturned, a lot of rework, competing points of view. Overall, the process didn't work, which is what we see in most projects, in most construction projects. Again, a lot of studies, overwhelming data. They had so much data. This is an IT company, data-driven, so they had numbers for everything, but nobody knew what to do with those numbers. Okay, so we did this intervention. We started the implementation of Lean principles. It started with last planner system. Then the client was also backed and trained to understand a little bit Lean concepts. The managers consulted with Lean project consulting, and they started the implementation of the A3s and CVA process. There was an initial breaking process. It wasn't like magic that you start, okay, today we're going to start using CVA and A3. This particular project team was struggling with time, and they didn't want to stop for training. So there was no way we could stop the project and say, okay, we're going to spend 1 day or 4 hours or anything on training people. So we were coaching as they were implementing, and so obviously people had resistance to buy into the process, and that was, I mean, the buy into the process was happening slowly. So we implement the A3 champions. So there were certain people that work in the project management company that was in charge of making certain decisions. So we divided the building into like share and call and core or interiors. So there were different leaders to deal with different parts of the building. And the A3s were also prioritized. So, okay, which decision needs to be done in which order and based in accordance to the plan. And then we standardize the way in which they make decisions. We also help them come to, shape the culture in which, by taking certain actions. So they will be asked to cancel meetings if not all the participants were there. So that was something that's very useful. Okay, we don't want you to waste your time. If we're making a mechanical decision and the mechanical engineer doesn't show up, of course you need to cancel. And so people started to, and when people show up to the meetings with lack of information, there was a clear request. Could you please, when can you have this information, and let's come back and reschedule this meeting. Yeah, the same when the team was not prepared. There was also some cases in which people was like, there was one particular case in which one of the architects came to the meeting for the first time and said, like, what are you guys doing? Why this is so slow? I want to go and get out and do the design. Why are we asking, what's the decision and all these criteria stuff? It takes forever. I don't want to do this. And the leader said, okay, do you have a better way? Just lead the meeting. It's all yours. No. We're fine. And then he was, asked to lead, and then we could continue. And then once they started with the decisions, more and more people was getting engaged because they were realizing that actually the decisions stick with them. And the owner only engaged in the decision process once the team had all the information and could provide a complete recommendation. So this is, again, was live coaching. So for every single decision they made, either David or I was there. No previous training. So we were paying attention to, how they could learn, and the moods, and yeah, and limited training for the session. So this is a list just to give you an idea. I'm not gonna give you any details into each one of these decisions, but we did in total, we documented these 24 decisions in a period of 3 months. And for each one of those, there was an A3, and there was a conversation. Okay, what is this decision for? What do we want to get the criteria, factors? What are the attributes? So in CVA, one of the key points of the discussion is that you want people to separate, to show what are the facts, what are the attributes of the alternatives that help you differentiate the alternatives, and then you make assessments over how important those differences are. So there's a lot of information that needs to be done. And this is the results. So this is after each decision, the budget changed. So we did an analysis of importance of advantages versus costs, and this is how the cost of the project was going down overall. So not for every decision, the team was able to find a solution that had, so this was compared to the baseline of the project, so they had the budget baseline. And so for most decisions, the team was able to create alternatives that saved money and provided value for the customer. But in some cases, they decided to go over the budget. But overall, the reduction in cost with all the decisions was $9 million, which is 11% of the budget for that portion of the building. The time to make decisions was also decreasing, so they started having less meetings per decision, and each meeting also had less time because they show up more prepared. They had ownership of the decisions, so they came prepared, develop common understanding of what decisions were coming, why they were making these decisions. The decisions stick with the client, which made the process more efficient, so they wanted to keep doing this. And yeah, reduce negative iterations, and at the end, higher client satisfaction, and also increase time. Okay, that's it. Thank you.